guys, I'm back with a Mr. Nightmare video for you guys today. 3 disturbing true hiking horror stories. Happy Friday. Hopefully you guys have plans for the weekend. I never have any plans. Well, besides work, but I don't work this weekend. I'm just doing nothing except maybe gym and just relaxing. Starting. Don't care. But yeah, Mr. Nightmare, this video came out a good few days ago. If you guys notice, I'm filming this literally 49 minutes before this video is supposed to come out. I don't know if it'll make it before noon, including filming, editing, and saving and uploading. I don't know if it'll be up before 12. If it's up a few minutes late, forgive me, but it's out. 3 disturbing true hiking horror stories by Mr. Nightmare. Let's see how this goes. I don't really hike. Hiking is basically walking, but just through a trail. That's kind of what I consider hiking. Like through a forest or trail, or but not a park. It's like a forest or trail sort of thing, but not necessarily a park. That's what I always thought hiking was. I don't know if that's totally wrong or not, but that's how I always considered it. But hiking is basically walking. But again, through a weird forest.
Hiker. I was doing some hiking in Utah during a cross-country trip I was taking after breaking up with who I thought was going to be my fiancée. Long story short, I caught her messing around with one of my closest friends. Total betrayal on both sides.
Ouch. This isn't even about cheating, but it's damn, 23 seconds in, that honestly hurts a lot, bro. Can you imagine? You thought you were gonna, oh my god, that's crazy. And I'm pretty sure it said Ali. I guess that could be a guy or a girl. But anytime I think of Ali, I would just think a guy, or sorry, a girl. But I guess Ali Gady, that's a guy. So I don't know, whatever. That's honestly that's horrible. I can't even imagine, because then you lose your partner and your best friend. Ooh. Obviously they weren't your best friend to begin with, but it's ouch, that stings a lot.
I was 31. Utah was actually one of the states I was most excited about passing through. There are some great forests out there that I think every hiker would dream of exploring.
Yeah, it's like forests.
I picked Wasatch Cache National Forest as my Utah destination because I had heard a lot of great things about it. One of its biggest upsides for me was that it had a lot of secluded areas that I could easily access. I prefer hiking alone, so bustling hiking trails swarming with people aren't really my thing. I picked an unnamed area of the forest and drove my car as far down this narrow access road as I could. I parked, stepped out of my car, and took in my surroundings. I geared up and checked my phone. No service, just the way I like it. I made a mental note of my starting point and began the trek.
I don't know why you would like that. You're basically in the middle of nowhere with nothing around you, and then you also have no service. A recipe for death. I was gonna say, yeah, these are horror stories, but in the beginning that's already basically a horror story. Like losing your best friend and fiance like that. That's a horror story right there.
I know hiking alone in uncharted territory is dangerous, but I don't think I have as much fun following a designated route. I always download the digital map of whatever location I'm planning to explore.
That's
a lot of people don't realize that your phone's GPS still functions without service. I know what you're probably thinking, but no, I didn't get lost. I wish I could tell you that that's what the story's about. The reality of what happened to me is something I'm still trying to wrap my head around. My destination was a lookout point at the summit of the mountain, which was maybe 3 or 4 miles away. The terrain was pretty difficult, so I was only clearing about 1.5 miles an hour. About an hour into my hike, it began raining. Although it was light, I refused to continue. Hiking in the rain is a massive pet peeve of mine. Annoyed, I turned around and began retracing my steps. Eventually, I spotted my car in the distance, and I was relieved that this failed outing would soon be over. I reached my vehicle and was met with a...
Just wait under a tree and wait for it to stop raining or something. Usually rain does not last long. Here, at least, it lasts not that long at all. Unless, we're expecting a lot of rain, all day long or something, then, usually it rains for, a few minutes, then you're done. Just wait for the rain to stop and then continue your damn hike. Who cares?
A horrifying sight. All 4 tires were slashed. I felt the fear start to set in. There wasn't a chance in the world that all 4 tires had been coincidentally punctured.
Well, obviously
this had been deliberate.
Obviously.
I whipped my head around, scanning the forest in every direction. Nothing. I listened as carefully as I could, but anything I might have picked up on was drowned out by the patter of raindrops on leaves and brush.
That's
I
horrifying.
weighed my options.
Like you think you're alone, and now now you can't get away. Like now you literally can't even leave, bro. Like your tires are all slashed. Like you can still drive, but it's not gonna end up good for you. You know what I mean? It's like that's insane, bro. Like you're literally there all alone, no service. Well, at least you thought you were alone. Now you're alone with some psycho person that obviously has ill intent.
Without service, I was basically screwed.
Yep.
I'd need to get service so I could call for assistance. But as far
I'm sorry. What did you say earlier? No service. Just the way I like it. Yeah, do you like it now?
as I remembered, I had lost service over 20 miles down the access road. Walking back to civilization seemed like a grueling option. I needed to find high ground. Luckily, the destination I had originally sought out was just that. I had to chance it. I didn't feel safe walking 20 miles down the road where I'd basically be out in the open. Without another thought, I turned back towards the woods and began my route once again. I was about halfway to the summit when I picked up on a faint rustling coming from behind me, maybe 40 or so yards away.
Shit.
It would start and stop in tandem with my movements. I didn't want to turn and look. I just picked up the pace, knowing I was probably a faster hiker than whoever or whatever was stalking me. The sun was starting to go down, casting an eerie shadow over the forest. The rain was still falling, and I was starting to get nervous. After putting some distance between myself and whatever was stalking me, I cast an inconspicuous glance over my shoulder. I didn't see anything, but someone could have been easily hiding behind any of the countless trees in the forest. Finally, I reached the peak. By some miracle, there actually was service up there. I didn't waste a second, not even pausing to admire the view. I told the police exactly where my car was and explained what
That's beautiful,
happened,
beautiful.
including my suspicion that I was being stalked. I also told the operator that I had AAA. I hung up, relieved that someone knew where I was. There was still a glaring problem, though. I'd have to navigate back through the forest before it was fully dark, while somehow avoiding whoever was stalking me.
Shit.
I couldn't just march in a straight line back through the forest. That was asking for trouble. I thought for a second, before concluding that I'd have to try to walk in a semicircle back to my car, hopefully avoiding any kind of trap someone had set.
Plus, when it's already raining, like it's not even just that it's getting dark, but the fact that it's raining already makes it gloomy and dark. If it's sunny at least, and then the sun is just setting, then it's like at least there's still, you know. But if it's already raining and there's like already like gray skies everywhere, then it's already eerie and it gets dark sooner. Obviously with the rain, like you guys obviously know what it looks like when it rains. It's all gloomy and dark, so that just makes it even darker, especially when you want sunlight, right? So it's like, oof.
I walked parallel to the cliff for a while before entering the woods from a different angle. I hadn't bothered to analyze this area of the forest, though, so I pulled up the map on my phone and prayed my navigation skills wouldn't let me down. Things were going well for a while. I hadn't heard a single unusual sound behind me or in front of me.
But at this point, what time is it? Is it pitch black? Like what's happening?
I might have spoken too soon, though, because not 30 seconds after having that thought, I heard a twig snap from my left.
Fuck, bro.
I turned to look, but didn't see anything.
Like you literally
Minutes
jinxed it.
later, I heard another sound, this time from directly behind me. My blood ran cold as it dawned on me. There were multiple people out there. I picked up the pace again,
Fuck, bro.
settling into a light jog. As if things weren't terrifying enough already, I stumbled upon something that brought my panic levels from a 5 to a 10. There was a makeshift campsite literally tucked away in the woods. There were 12 or so logs sitting in a circle around a campfire.
Fuck.
Someone had been here recently. I jogged around it and continued on, casting glances behind me every so often. A few minutes later, I heard something from my right. This time, I turned quickly enough just to barely see someone's foot jump behind a tree. That was it for me. My light jog instantly turned into a full-on sprint through the woods. I didn't care how loud I was being. I needed to get out of that forest. As I ran, the sounds around me continued getting louder.
Fuck.
It was clear that I was being chased.
Yep.
They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. I continued running, afraid to look behind me. At one point, I couldn't resist the urge anymore and shot a glance over my shoulder. I counted at least 6 people, all of whom were wearing white and charging toward me.
Oh my
I
god.
kept running, knowing
Fuck,
my
bro.
car wasn't far. The next few minutes were the most terrifying moments I've ever experienced in my life.
You know, because even if you got to your car, all your tires are slashed, what are you gonna do? Just lock your doors? If there's 6 guys, they're just gonna break the window and you're fucking dead.
A Imagine being overwhelmed with exhaustion while the threat of death looms over you. I couldn't slow down. My life literally depended on it. Finally, I saw my car in the distance, and right behind it was a police officer.
Oh.
I reached his car and keeled over, almost throwing up before he even had a chance to speak. I turned around, and those people that had been chasing me were nowhere in sight. The cop told me that he had gone ahead and called AAA, which I was beyond thankful for. I gave him a full police report, and what he told me was chilling. Apparently, Utah houses the largest population of Mormons in the country, and it isn't uncommon to encounter woods folk in unmarked forests. The specific forest I was exploring actually had a very rich history, especially as it pertains to woods cults and religious groups. The cop told me that I had probably stumbled upon one such group, and that I was stupid to explore a random part of the woods. In all honesty, what that cop told me all those years ago was probably true. I still can't wrap my head around this, though. If they were mad that I was infringing on their land, why not just tell me that? I don't see why they'd feel the need to stalk and chase me through the woods, especially after slashing my tires. This experience is still something I think about all the time.
Yeah, because it's one thing if you don't know something, like, yes, you may be on someone's land or whatever, but it's like, if you don't know that, then it's like, how are you going to stop that? Like, I guess he obviously got the hint by your tires being slashed and being chased through the forest. I guess you got the hint, but it's like, just fucking tell me. Like, why you gotta make me run and, make me freaking, like, run for my life, right? Anyways, that's annoying. But that's why I don't go hiking. I just go biking. Actually, there was a little bit of, no, that's biking through it. It's kind of like a trail, though. It's like a trail that kind of goes up the mountain. And, like, not a mountain like this. Like, it's a mountain, like, just in our city. Like, there's a mountain access and things like that. So I usually, that's the trail that goes up there, and I just use that. Obviously going up is hell because you're on a bike, and obviously it goes steadily uphill. It's never really just, it always kind of, it's like a little hill always going up, obviously, because you're going on a mountain. So when you go down, it's fucking great, because it's like basically a straight downhill, so it's fucking fantastic. But going up is fucking hell, I'll tell you that. I've done it before, obviously, like several times. So, with that being said, it's like, yeah, I've done it a lot, so at nighttime, I remember being in there. It was black in there, bro. Like, I remember it was like when the Raptors, I think it was like years ago, 2019, or like when the Raptors were, like when the Toronto Raptors were in like the NBA, or not the NBA finals, like the second or third round of the playoffs, the conference finals or whatever they're called in NBA. I remember my friend was updating me, and then I was like in the forest, like it was black in there because it was like 8, 9 p.m. and of course it was like not summer, so it was like. When is even the NBA final? I don't know. I don't even know. But it doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure it was like 7, 8 p.m. and it was already getting dark, or it was already basically black in there, and then I couldn't see shit. Like, I literally could not see shit in front of me. I'm pretty sure I had to have my phone flashlight in hand, full force, like full brightness as I drove, even though I had bike lights. Like, it was still super hard to see, because it was like black, and then again, it's a trail, and you don't know who's in there. I was panicking, bro. Like, nothing at all happened. Nothing was scary at all about it. Like, it was terrifying, but I just biked fast. But then I also didn't want to fall, because basically there's nothing stopping you from just falling over the edge. I told you, it's climbing a mountain. It's basically like a forest trail, where it just kind of goes upward and downward. Obviously, if you go down, and there's no barrier. If you move a little too much to the right or left, like depending on when you're going up or down, you'll fall off and die. Or at least be heavily injured. Because it's literally like there's no barrier. It's like not a straight fall, but it's like, it's kind of like a really steep hill, and then you're going down on a bike too. Oh, yeah. R.I.P. to you. So that was the most terrifying thing for me. But nothing happened. Nothing scary happened. It was just scary being in the dark like that, being all alone. But like no horror story actually ensued. It was just the thought of like that, Story 2, Matthew wrote.
I'm not going to call myself an expert hiker, but I've been avidly enjoying the activity for a few decades now. I've traversed all the major trails in America, and I've been to over 75% of this beautiful country's national parks. As such, I've had to find new ways to excite myself. I recently picked up a new hobby, scouring Google Maps for vast, unnamed forests and just exploring them. It's a little unconventional, but I think the added excitement is worth the risk of getting lost, or at least I did. I carry a pack of homemade route marking stickers that I periodically slap onto trees so I don't forget my way back.
Okay.
As I pass each one, I pull them off the trees so as not to leave any litter behind. I'm surprised more people haven't picked up on this trick. It makes getting lost in a forest nearly impossible. Anyway, there was a slightly
That's
more
cool.
daunting task
Like, never really thought of that. That's pretty smart though. That's good. Yeah, like you do you. Good.
ahead of me this time around. I had decided to explore Dudley Town Forest in Connecticut, which I'm sure would give any normal person pause. If you don't know, the whole town has been abandoned since the 1800s, and there are all sorts of creepy accounts about strange things and stuff like that. You should do some research on the place if you're interested in that sort of thing.
I'm good.
I'm not, though. I'm not superstitious, and I don't believe in the ghost stories. Technically, this forest is off limits to the public, but that hasn't stopped me before. As I saw it, I was basically guaranteed to not encounter anyone in those woods, which is usually what I go for. I'm also from New England, so the drive actually wasn't so bad. I entered the woods around noon to ensure that the sun didn't go down before I finished hiking. My first impression of the woods was honestly pretty freaky. I had heard that it was dead silent in there, and I was surprised to discover that it actually was. You don't really notice or appreciate all the sounds in a forest
Deer
until
tick.
they aren't there anymore.
I fucking hate ticks, bro. That's why I hate going in the summertime. Which, like, you're not gonna go on a trail up the mountain in the fucking wintertime when there's no fucking bugs. Like when it's fucking freezing. I mean, but obviously in the winter there's no bugs. But obviously in the fucking spring and summer it's like fucking bug. I was gonna say bug heaven, bug hell, because there's the bugs everywhere. Like, you can't even go inside without a fucking, like, I can't go in the fucking backyard without a fucking bug like landing on me like 1,000 times. Or freaking sitting in the evening just like trying to enjoy the weather, a nice little not really chilly but like nice warm summer early fall evening. Nope, fucking mosquitoes are eating your ass. Like, fuck off, bro. Can I just enjoy the fucking weather?
Imagine closing your eyes in a silent room and only being able to hear your breathing. That's what it was like. To be completely honest, this silent phenomenon wasn't something foreign to me. I'd been in forests void of animals before. I kept walking, placing my stickers as I went, trying to shake the eerie feeling the forest was inducing. I kept thinking I would eventually stumble upon an animal, or at least some indication that there was life in there, but I had no such luck. After a while, I was honestly hoping to encounter a person even. That's how unsettled I was. Pretty soon, though, the silence of the forest stopped bothering me so much. For the first time since I'd stepped foot in those woods, I was calm.
Okay.
The feeling didn't last long, though. Out of nowhere, I picked up on a sound that sent the uneasiness rushing back in. It was like a wailing kind of moaning sound, the kind of sound you might imagine a wounded animal making. That's the best way I can put it. I still have trouble describing it, even to this day. It was especially creepy since it was the only sound in the whole damn woods. I paused and listened, trying to figure out what it could be. I had never heard anything like it. There was a chance it could have been a whistling made by the wind, but there wasn't any wind to begin with, so that didn't make sense. I concluded that it was most likely a wounded animal, even though I knew it probably wasn't. I walked away from it until the sound faded away. You're probably wondering why I didn't just turn around and leave right there. I wish I had an answer to that question. I told myself that if one more creepy thing happened, that would be it for me. As I walked, I started thinking to myself, how would an animal even get wounded in a forest like this? Like, was there someone hunting in here? There's no way I could have missed a gunshot. Maybe the hunter had taken the shot before I was near shot. Maybe he neglected to put the thing out of its misery. Would someone really do that, though? It was hard to imagine. All these thoughts and more were bouncing around in my head when I stumbled upon something. On the tree directly in front of me, there were honest-to-God carvings. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm being dead serious. The carvings weren't symbols, and they didn't look like letters either. Just random slashes and bits of missing tree bark. I started looking around and saw that several of the neighboring trees were covered in the same marks. That was it for me. I turned around without another thought and began walking back, unsticking my trail markers as I passed them. I'm a curious person by nature, and even I was thinking, screw this. I followed my trail.
I hate how he keeps fucking moving. Like, fuck, the camera keeps fucking moving. It's making me dizzy. I don't know if that's normal or not, but it's making me fucking dizzy. I hate seeing it. Like, look fucking straight. Why the fuck you turning? Like, fuck, man.
Trail markers for a while, before seeing something in the distance I hadn't seen before. There was what looked like a bear's den up ahead. or at least a cave of some sort. I stopped
Thank you.
walking, confused. I know myself. There was a 0% chance I would have overlooked something like a bear's den, and that's when it hit me. My trail markers should have been shoulder high, not waist high. My
Oh.
blood ran cold. I turned around and began sprinting back the way I had come, constantly looking over my shoulder. How could I have been so absent-minded? Someone had moved my stickers in an attempt to lure me into that cave. But how? Was it really possible that someone had been tracking me this entire time? I didn't have...
I'm not gonna lie, I just thought it was some of the other sticker, or some person that had the same stickers as you. I didn't think that they lowered yours. I thought that they had their own, that there was someone else in there. And that, like, you accidentally followed someone else's. That was my original thought, not what you just said, but my bad, yeah, sure.
have time to think all of it through. I was busy focusing on getting the hell out of that forest. The issue with that, though, was that I literally had no idea where I was going. Without those trail markers, I was as good as lost. I kept running, not even trying to be quiet. It would have been pointless anyway. The forest was dead silent, apart from the sounds I was making. I stopped to catch my breath and pulled out my phone, praying for signal. By some miracle, I did have a bar. I found my parked car's location on the map and figured out which direction I needed to go. It wasn't far. And just like that, the signal dropped. It didn't matter though. I knew where I was going now.
Okay.
And that's when the wailing started up again. Only this time, it was twice as loud. I ran faster than I had ever run before, even though my most fit years were behind me. The sound seemed like it was coming from right behind me, but every time I turned to look, I couldn't see anything.
By the way, because I just told you guys I hate all this motion, so I'm just gonna look away.
After the worst 10 minutes of my life, I finally reached the edge of the forest and the wailing stopped abruptly.
Good.
I jumped in my car and sped off before whatever had been chasing me had a chance to catch up. That day ruined hiking for me. Here's my rational explanation for what happened. Some hermit or woods freak lives in those woods and noticed me before I noticed him. He then, for whatever reason, tracked me and messed with my trail markers, hoping to lure me towards that cave. I'm assuming he had a whistle or something that made that wailing noise, which is why it stopped so abruptly once he realized he wasn't going to catch me. I know there are holes in this explanation, like how could someone blow through a whistle for that long while simultaneously running at full speed? I'm open to anybody suggesting explanations. Maybe there's a reason that forest is off limits to civilians.
No, really? Like off limits. You know what? Yeah, let me investigate. Let me see how off limits this is. Okay, well you can do it, but it's probably not gonna end well. And I mean, I guess that kind of lies. I guess it wasn't really a hike. It was just like, for me, hiking is like, again, like going in like a random forest, just going literally, you don't even know where you're going. For me, it was like a trail. Like, again, like even a forest trail, that's not really hiking for me. Maybe it still is considered hiking, I don't know. But for me, it's just like randomly going in the woods. That's basically hiking. Like going on a trail or like a park is not really hiking. It's just a walk. I'm actually gonna look up like walking versus hiking. Like it's basically the same thing, right? So I'm just gonna look up what they say on here, at least, like what on the internet says, what Google says about that. Hiking versus walking. That already shows up. Walks are shorter in duration and able to be enjoyed by any age group. A hike tends to be longer and harder walks that are usually on trails. Okay, so I guess it is a trail. Through the mountains or trails through bush or countryside terrain. The trails are generally visible trails, but not the smooth surfaces of a walk. So I guess even a trail, I guess that is hiking. So I guess I've been hiking before, but thankfully no horror stories yet. But now that I mentioned it, it's gonna happen.
When I was younger, my childhood home was the most fitting for squad hangouts. There were a few reasons for this. My dad had a massive man cave in the basement with an almost unlimited supply of beer. Plus, my parents usually let us drink down there and left us alone for the most part.
That's a beautiful basement.
I lived on a pretty large plot of land, and my house bordered a decently sized woods. If you were to walk through the woods from my house, you would find yourself on a dirt road. On the other side of the road was the reservoir, a spot that has had my heart since I was a kid. I've cut countless holes in the reservoir fence, so many in fact that the Water Commission stopped repairing them. After all, it is illegal for any civilians to trespass on reservoir property. As a kid, though, it was my sanctuary. I'd go there to smoke, to get away from my parents, to swim, to think. It truly was a beautiful place, and probably the only thing I miss about that era of my life.
This is
My
beautiful.
friends and I were shooting a few rounds of pool in my basement with some obnoxious EDM music in the background when my friend Chester had the brilliant idea of taking a hike through the woods to the reservoir. The boredom was beginning to kick in,
Yeah, brilliant idea, right?
and so we all agreed. Plus, the sun hadn't gone down yet, so it wouldn't be a nightmare trying to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
There were 5 of us: me, Chester, Rick, Jasper, and Hassan.
And how old are you guys again? I don't know if you mentioned your ages. Normally, like Mr. Emery mentions ages.
I can't remember too many specifics, but I'm pretty sure Rick and Hassan snagged some beers for the journey. They were the drinkers of
I'm assuming they're 19 or 21 plus.
our friend group. I had already had a few drinks, so I didn't want to overdo it. The reservoir was huge, so even after crossing the fence, we still had some walking to do. It was honestly still a little muddy in the woods from the earlier rain, but we were already committed to this plan. There was a cliff on the near side that we usually chilled on, so that's where we went that night. After a while, though, we decided to keep walking and hang out on the far side of the reservoir. In order to get over there, we would have to walk along the near side to the end, where we could cut across to the other side. Then we'd be able to walk along the far side until we reached this really smooth section that we used to call the beach. After about 20 minutes of walking,
I love that music. Like that ear. I love that fucking music, bro. It's so
we
like.
found ourselves on the far side of the reservoir, finally. It was then that stuff started getting weird. Hassan put his hand up and pointed into the distance. Remember, we were on the far side of the ovular-shaped reservoir, but we hadn't walked all the way down to the beach yet. Hassan was pointing to our right, where we realized that something was moving toward the reservoir on the same side that we were on, albeit much further down. The 5 of us quieted and kept watching as the dark figure slowly made its way towards the water. We were all kind of excited by this because it meant we might have some kind of encounter, which we usually welcomed. As the figure made its way towards the water and out of the woods, we realized that they were dragging something. The further they got, the more we could see. Eventually, we realized what was being dragged: a large black garbage bag that clearly had something relatively heavy inside of it on account of how slowly the person was moving.
It's a dead body, obviously. It's always a dead body.
Now, I don't want to make any assumptions, but there have been a couple bodies found in that reservoir over the years. So in
No
that
surprise.
moment, we quickly assumed the worst. We weren't smiling or even talking anymore.
Yep.
Just staring quietly at the figure dragging what we guessed to be a body towards the water's edge.
Yeah, you still want to have an encounter? Still? Mm-hmm.
After reaching the water, he knelt down over the bag for a few minutes. We couldn't really tell exactly what he was doing from so far away. We figured that was a good time to get out of there,
Yeah.
since he was distracted. Before we could leave, though, Chester spotted something else that stopped us in our tracks. 3 more figures emerged from the woods, 2 dragging bags. The third figure was carrying a kayak over his head. I honestly started feeling sick. I lived only 10 minutes from one of the most crime-ridden towns in America, so if this was somehow gang-related, that would have made a lot of sense. The first man we noticed got into the kayak, while the other 3 helped load one of the bags onto his lap. He rowed out to the middle of the reservoir, and we watched as the garbage bag disappeared below the surface. He rowed back to the shore and repeated this process twice more. And then, like a scene from a movie, my phone rang. The annoying tune cut through the silence like a razor blade, and my nervous self couldn't mute it fast enough. The 4 men froze and turned to look in our direction, which is
Fuck, bro. This is just, oh, fuck, goosebumps. And then just this music too, like the ding,
rang. The annoying
That music?
tune cut through the silence like a
or that tune of that horror music, bro.
razor blade, and my nervous self couldn't mute it fast enough. The 4 men froze and turned to look in our direction, which is when we ran. And just like that, the sanctity of my backyard reservoir was gone forever. Rick shot a glance over his shoulder and yelled out that they were following us. It was the scariest moment of my life. Running in a forest is actually insanely difficult. Factor in the threat of death and it's twice as bad. We ran all the way back down the bank, cut across, and started making our way through the woods on the near side back to the hole in the fence. I don't know if it was the nerves or the alcohol or both, but to save my life, I couldn't remember where the damn hole was. I reached the fence first with my friends close behind, and they began panicking when they saw that I was tracing the fence aimlessly, searching frantically for a hole that could have been anywhere. We ran along the fence, and
Isn't it pretty obvious to notice like a hole in the fence that a person could fit through? Isn't that pretty noticeable or obvious?
was ready to give up when Rick pointed ahead of us and yelled. It was just a few feet away, and we bounded for it. As I was helping Chester through, we heard the sound of a tree branch being stepped on not far behind us, and I knew they were closing in. The chase didn't end there. We ran through the woods all the way back to my backyard, and we were relieved to have made it. It was then that Hassan called the police. We told them what happened, and they said they'd send a squad car to my house immediately. I knew I was going to get heat for trespassing, but I didn't care at that point. My friends were relieved to be safe, but I wasn't as relaxed. The path from the reservoir to my house wasn't super far.
Yeah.
I could have easily followed the tracks we left on the trail. Eventually, the police arrived and listened to what we told them. The police searched my property for any signs that we were followed, and my stomach dropped when they actually found one. There was a set of muddy footprints that led to my backyard fence, which I told the police weren't ours. They asked if I was positive, and I told them I was. Why would I jump my own backyard fence? Luckily, the police didn't find anyone hiding on my property. So they left and told me they'd keep me updated about the reservoir situation. To my surprise, they actually did. After a few days, the police fished out 3 bodies from the reservoir. No surprise there, and it was a huge news story for a while. My parents and I were terrified for a long time, knowing that some criminals knew where we lived. For months afterwards, my mom swore she saw people in the woods at night, and even claimed to have seen a camera flash one night. This incident was actually one of the main reasons we moved out of that house. Fast forward to today, and as far as I know, the police were never able to find any sort of connection or make any arrests. The reason I'm writing about this now is because I recently stumbled upon a depressing news article about a teenager drowning in that reservoir, which brought all these memories back. That place is definitely cursed, and I still wonder about all the tragedies that might have happened there that no one knows about.
Damn, bro. This is why I just stay home. Like, you know what I mean, bro? I just stay home. I just don't even want to go anywhere and do anything. I'm like, I'm just going to stay home. Because to me, it's just safer. One second, guys. The last story was one of the most tense stories in quite a while. Couldn't imagine being chased in the woods. The third story is one of the only stories I've heard on this channel, and that the police actually give the family an update after. Crazy though that him and his friends witnessed bodies being disposed and were chased because his cell phone rang. Fuck. That's like the most like I don't know if cliche is the word, but that's like the most like cliche, like typical thing to happen in a horror story. Like, you need to be quiet. Ding 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 ding. It's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? That's why. You want to know what? That's never gonna happen to me. Want to know why? Because my phone's on silent 24/7. Right now it's on silent. It's 11:44 right now. At 11:44 p.m. it'll be silent. It's silent all the damn time. Because you know what? I don't get notifications because I don't have any friends. So I don't have to worry about that. And if I do get an important call, my watch will buzz. Or, sorry, vibrate. Buzz. Fuck. It'll just vibrate because who needs sound? I don't have any friends. No one's gonna call me. So I'm good. I'm good. No one's gonna hit me up. So I know my one person, my coworker or someone was like, "What if your phone rings?" And like, "What if it's important?" I'm like, I've had a phone for like literally 6, 7, 8 years, and never have I ever needed that. So it's fine. I'll be fine. Plus, I'm on my phone all the time, anyways. Either playing games or waiting for someone to hit me up. First guy really expected civility from random people that lived in the woods. I hope he continues using this music for... Yeah, exactly. It's very fitting.
Over his shoulder and yelled out that they were following us. It was the scariest moment of my...
I wasn't totally a fan of that music. I was more so like of the eerie, like... I don't know how you do that sound, but I like that a lot. Perplexes me how some people go hiking without bear spray, a firearm, or some kind of GPS. Just go, like... I don't know. People are just stupid, to be honest. This was the only one of the most horrifying videos I've listened to in my life. I've been listening to Mr. Nightmare for over 7 years. This video is easily one of my top 5 scariest, especially since I enjoy hiking. That makes this video scary. I mainly go biking, so it's not really hiking like at all. I just go biking. The tick and the tick infestation sounds pretty horrifying too. Fuck those things. Exactly. I fucking hate ticks. That sign is a great deterrent. Yeah. I should put it on my doorstep instead of no solicitors. Sorry, this house is full of ticks. Stay away. Imagine if a creepy driver picked up a creepy hitchhiker. That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Yeah, that's what I was always thinking. Like, what if someone that means, like, what if someone that's like a hitchhiker, for example, like means harm to someone that's like picking somebody up, right? Like, let's say I'm putting my finger up, but I mean harm to the driver. But then the driver's only picking me up because they also mean harm. That'd be interesting. That would really be interesting. Anyways, guys, I'll see you guys in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Longer than I wanted this video to be. This video is definitely not going to come out for 12, but it'll come out eventually, just a bit later. But hopefully you guys like it, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Deuces. Peace.